Okay. So Karen, just to be official, do I have your permission to post this on YouTube and other media purposes?
Yes, you do.
So Karen, I want to give you a scenario. Karen, let's say you're a doctor, okay, and you have a very young and healthy patient coming to see you. In fact, right after they walk you through the park. But you've seen their x-rays, and you've seen that they actually have terminal cancer. But you have a cure for them in your pocket. What would you do first? Would you offer them the cure, or would you show them the x-rays?
I'd show them the x-rays
Why?
because I think they're entitled to all the information before they make any decisions.
And would you agree that if you tried to offer them the cure first, they would most likely reject it? Simply because they don't think that they need it. They're like, well, doc, I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm fine, I feel fit, I just went for a 5-mile run, why am I taking this?
Probably they would reject it. I'm not sure really, but probably.
Yeah, because they don't think that they're sick, right? They feel fine. You want to give them an injection that could possibly make them sick, even if it's trying to make them feel better, but they don't see it that way. They're going, well, I'm fine, doc, I'm 26, why do I need that cure, right?
Yeah.
Karen, do you believe that you're a good person?
Basically, yes.
Okay. Can I show you some spiritual x-rays?
Spiritual x-rays?
Spiritual x-rays.
All right.
How many lies have you told in your whole life, Karen?
I don't really know.
More than...
I don't know. Maybe 30 or 40, probably. I really don't tell a lot of lies, so I don't think I've told too many.
What do we call somebody who tells lies?
A liar.
Have you ever stolen anything, irregardless of value? It could have been a pencil from one of your students. It could have been...
When I was a kid, I stole something from a store, and my mom made me go back and give it back to them.
And what do we call somebody who steals things?
A stealer?
If you're from Pittsburgh, otherwise rhymes with pants on fire. Or it's a thief. We would call him a thief.
Okay, good.
This one's a little more dicey, but have you ever taken God's name in vain?
Oh, yes.
It's called blasphemy.
Yes.
We wouldn't take our mother's name in vain. We wouldn't take our children's name in vain when we stub our toe or we hit our hand with a hammer. Why don't we do that? Why don't we use our mother's name in place of cuss word?
Because my mother's name isn't generally put in most curses, whereas God's name actually is.
Because we love and respect our mom, we would never think to use her name as a cuss word to describe filth and disgust. And yet we would take holy God's name, who gave us a mother, in replace of that 4-letter filth word. And then lastly, and this one's a little dicey, you can answer this in your heart. Have you ever looked with lust?
Am I answering this in my heart?
It's between you and the Lord. But Jesus said that if you look at a person with lust, you've committed adultery with them in your heart. We don't have to commit the act in order for it to be happening in us. And I'll ask you one more. Have you ever murdered anybody?
No.
You ever been angry with somebody?
Yes.
Maybe somebody cuts you off on the highway.
Oh, that's not worth my anger.
Well,
They'd have to do something really bad for me to be angry with them. But I have been.
so the same principle applies, that if we are angry with somebody in our heart, it's the same substance. Mind you, it's not as bad as if we took their life physically, but the substance is there to take a human life, to commit murder, right? Fair?
I'm not sure about that, but okay, you say so.
Well, Karen, I'm not your judge, but this is for your own summation. You have told me that you're a lying, thieving, blasphemous, adulterer at heart, and if God is to judge you on Judgment Day, would he find you innocent or guilty?
Innocent. God, love.
But based on his standards, based on those 10 commandments, would he find you innocent or guilty?
He'd find me innocent. I go to confession. I'm clear with God.
How so?
I'm Catholic. Catholics believe if you go to confession and you get your, you do your penance and all that you're pretty clear with God. You've confessed you. And plus, we also believe that God would forgive anybody anything if you repent.
Okay. And that's a good word. I like that word. But if God is holy and righteous and pure, he must punish lawbreakers, right? He can't just let us go, otherwise he wouldn't be just. But we also know that God is merciful and he wants to forgive guilty criminals like you and I. So how did he do both? How did he uphold justice while also showing mercy and compassion? Do you know?
Crucifixion, probably.
He gave his son, right? The 10 Commandments are the moral law. You and I have broken that moral law, and Jesus has paid the fine. That's how he can legally let us go. That's why Jesus' last words on the cross were, "It is finished." It was a legal transaction. It's a pretty strange thing to say before somebody dies, "It is finished." But he was paying our sin debt so that even though we are guilty, God poured out his wrath that we deserve on his son so that he could legally let us go, forgive us, while also upholding his justice. Does that make sense? So Karen, Jesus also said, "What is a profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul?" Right? He calls us to repentance, which is a word you mentioned earlier, and belief, to trust in him, like you would a parachute. Can you say that with 100% surety that you've done that?
Yes.
Do you remember?
Remember what?
Do you remember when?
When I've trusted God? I trust God all the time. I mean, every day you're putting yourself in the hands of God.
There's a Bible verse that I like to ask.
Things go really bad. What do? You pray. I've always wondered how people who don't believe in God, how they handle the horrible things that happen to everyone in life. Because you have no one. Who do you turn to? What do you do?
Well, in Karen, the reason I ask you this is because there was a certain singular word that you mentioned earlier. You said, "I pray to him and I go to confession." If I want to give you a Bible verse and I want to hear your thoughts on it. It says, "For by grace you are saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it is the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast." What is that? What do those two verses mean?
Well, you are saved by faith, not by works, not by what you do, but by what you believe. And so,
Yeah, because if it was up to us, we wouldn't make it, right? And even worse so, if it was up to us, then that would be like a slap in the face to God and going, "You didn't have to send your son, I can do it on my own." Instead, he says it's by grace, which is undeserved favor, and it's a gift, right? We don't pay for it. If you tried to offer money for somebody giving you a gift, it'd be an insult. You'd go, "I'm trying to give this to you. I don't want anything for it." He's freely and willingly given his son for us. And so if we try to work in any way for it, that would be like a slap in the face to God and going, "Well, you didn't really need to send your son. I'm not fully trusting in your son." Because I also, part of me wants to work for it too. I feel like I need to do something. I like to say that God doesn't want fear-filled converts. He wants tear-filled converts. The reason that we want to do good works for him is not out of a necessity to try to earn his favor or try to save ourselves, but in a thank you to God and going, "You've been so merciful and gracious to me, a sinner, and I don't deserve your grace and your mercy. But now you've been so good to me, I can't help it, but I want to love others and serve others because I want to serve you." Does that make sense?
yes.
Karen, will you think about what we maybe talked about today? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Well, Karen, I'm glad that we ran into you today. Thank you.